All righty, well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to all our faculty and students who are here today for another wonderful semester that we're anticipating. Um, this is one of our first, I would say our first town hall, but one of our first town halls of the year. I would like to coin this as Let's Chat IVC. Um, and the reason for these town halls is we really want to make sure with all the changes that are happening in our country, in our world, we want to make sure that our population is well informed about things that can possibly impact our students and our community. So today we'll talk about some key updates, discuss some strategic priorities, of course, what's going on in Washington, and also more importantly, we want to hear from you. This will be an open and collaborative space as we continue to move forward and make IVC even better. So next slide. So as far as our ground rules today, this session will be recorded for those who cannot attend. Many are in classes and so forth. So we want to make sure that it's available for our other members. We will hold about 2 town halls each semester moving forward, just to keep you informed and engaged in this process. The chat room will be open throughout, so feel free to drop a chat in to ask questions. And then at the end, we will address those questions and those that we can't get to, or we will be posting a FAQ online to address your questions. Next slide. So to begin today, we'll have a few words from our board president. We'll talk about some enrollment updates. We'll, of course, discuss our strategic priorities as we continue this semester. Then we'll segue into some of the executive orders that has been coming down the pipe, as well as some of the things that we plan on doing to try to address some of these things that may directly impact our institution. So with that, now I would like just take a brief moment to thank our Board of Trustees for their ongoing leadership and support. Their commitment ensures that we have the resources and the direction needed to continue making a difference to our students and our community. Here, looking at the chat here, it looks like we have Trustee Sigmund, Trustee Martinez, of course, our Board President, Trustee Armendariz, Trustee Solis. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for your support. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our board president, Trustee Armendariz, who will share a few words. Trustee Armendariz.
Thank you, President and Dr. Johnson. Good afternoon, everyone. It's always an honor to join these conversations where we can recognize the incredible work happening at IVC. I want to extend my deepest appreciation to our faculty, staff, and administrators. Your dedication, innovation, and tireless efforts are why IVC continues to thrive. We've seen real progress from our 4.5 enrollment increase. That's just as of yesterday's latest data. So 4.5 enrollment increase to the tremendous work in removing fraudulent applications, along with the improvements of our facilities. We are also making progress on putting our strategic plan in action. These successes don't happen by chance. They happen because of all of you. The Board of Trustees remains steadfast in our commitment to ensuring IVC's long-term success and supporting this campus as we push forward with bold, positive changes for our students and community. Keep up the great work. Now I'll turn it back to President Johnson to go over some of our key updates and priorities. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you so much, Trustee Armendariz. And thank you so much for your continued support and for recognizing the work that our amazing team are doing. I too want to take a moment just to highlight some of the successes and priorities that are shaping IVC's future. As Trustee Armendariz mentioned, enrollment is up 4.5%. This is a direct result of our collective efforts in outreach, program expansion, as well as student support. So this is about the 8th or 9th semester that we have had at least a 3 to 5% increase. So outstanding job. And we are basically on par with where we were pre-pandemic. So give yourselves a big hand, big pat on the back. One of the biggest challenges that we have experienced this past semester is, and these last 2 semesters actually, is fraudulent applications. I do want to give a big kudos to the team that has been working so tirelessly to get those students off our roster, so real students have the opportunity to enroll and be in the classes. And I think you all have done a very, very good job. As of today, according to our IT Vice President, Jeff Enns, we have removed about 10,000 seats from our roster, which is a lot. So great job, everyone who have contributed to that. Next slide. So next slide. So as we move to next slide. Oh, I got a little ahead of myself. Sorry. So here, as we talk every year, we come up with our strategic priorities. And these are the things that we're still continuing to work on as we march to 2030. This year, by the end of this year, we want to complete our strategic enrollment management plan to guide our growth and success. We want to continue to expanding the 8-week courses, which will allow greater flexibility for our students and help them complete even faster. As well as pave the way for a lot of our adult students who may not be able to enroll for a whole 16-week term. Guided pathways, we have been working on this. We actually hired a consultant to help us continue to make that a priority on campus and ensure that all of our students have seamless pathways from K-12 all the way through IVC to the university. Strengthen our dual enrollment program. As we have mentioned on countless occasions, our goal is to ensure that every single student in the Valley earns at least 15 units before they graduate from high school. This would ensure that our community cultivates a college-going community. We just submitted our bachelor's degree in industrial automation to the state chancellor's office. We hope to get a full approval, hopefully by either sometime this year, early this year, and start the implementation of that program as early as next year. And then once we get approval of that, we hope to expand that even greater by adding a few other additional bachelor's degree options. As you probably saw in the newspaper recently, student housing in Calexico has already broke ground or is breaking ground. So that's a key priority, as we know that at any given moment, we may have 200 to 300 people on a waiting list for housing. Expansion of extracurricular activities, particularly as it relates to sports. We know that this is this can get the community engaged on our campus and enhance our campus life, but also we can reach out to students who may not want to go to and continue their education. Increasing online educational resources to reduce textbook costs. I think our faculty members have been doing a great job in expanding OER. This is a priority, as many of you know. One of our plans is to make some changes with our bookstore so we can bring books more readily available for our students, as well as at a lower cost. Improve our online classes, course success rate to match our face-to-face. I know the DE department has done amazing work in trying to align those success rates even better. Another big priority of ours is non-credit enrollment. We know that in order to get to the 10,000 FTS, we have to do things differently. And one thing that we want to do differently is really make sure that we capture and service and be a resource to those older students, particularly in the community and beyond. Many may not want to go and pursue a degree, but they do want to continue their education in some form or fashion. And by expanding our non-credit, we'll give them an opportunity to participate in the learning at IVC. And then lastly, we want to increase our funding for our foundation. We know we have many students who need resources, need support, and the only thing that's holding them back from achieving their goals is that additional funding and support, whether it be housing, books, and so forth. So those are what we're aiming to achieve over the next year or so. And I know with this dynamic team, Aspen winning team, we will accomplish these objectives. Next slide. I'm not sure about you, but watching the news has been draining, to say the least, with all the changes. And of course, I'm not here to judge whether it's good or bad. All I know is how it's going to impact our institution. So as you have noticed, there have been a rash of executive orders and policy changes that have been coming from the White House. From I think about 3 weeks ago, there was a letter that went out to freeze all funding, but that was rescinded. We just received a Dear Colleague letter on DEI activities, basically that could possibly impact our Title IV funding for our students. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, the immigration policies and enforcement has been an area of concern for many community members. So our response, one, we're working very closely with our legal counsel and the state to clarify what is law and what is guidance. Many of the executive orders, as you may have been made aware of, many of these executive orders are simply guidance on what the direction of the administration is headed, because the law will have to be actually enforced by Congress. So there is a slight disconnect, and some of the guidance may not materialize into law until the Congress acts and accepts some of the guidance that's coming from the White House. So those are things that we're keeping an eye on, is what is law that we have to comply with, and what is the guidance that's coming from the White House that we don't necessarily have to act on, because many of the guidance policies are being challenged in court, and we'll see down the line where it goes. We're monitoring our federal funds for compliance. Some things that are directly under the executive branch purview may be impacted faster than the things that have that are tied directly to the law. So we are looking at our federal funds and making sure that we're compliant in that area, as well as making sure that our spending levels are minimized and only utilized when absolutely necessary or already earmarked. So if things does get adjusted anyway, the district is financially strong, and we do not want to hurt students in any way, that we can be able to still continue moving forward and making sure our students have the resources they need to be successful. We are preparing for potential policy and funding changes. We do know with the guidance will be some legal changes that will come down. So we are preparing for that. So I would say in a nutshell, we're trying to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. We are following the immigration policies, as well as working with our local law enforcement. And then like myself and Celeste and Trustee Armendariz and many of our trustees, a couple of weeks ago, we have been in Sacramento as well as in Washington to make sure that our voices are heard, as well as we're trying to find out exactly how we should best prepare, as this is impacting all the institutions in our great nation. Next slide. So about 2 weeks ago, I did send out the administrative procedures on what to do if law enforcement does come on campus. Please refer to these AP 3415, as well as AP 5017. I also prepared a FAQ that was written by legal counsel, or reviewed and written by legal counsel. That will be posted on the website as well, and we'll be sending that out after this call for your review And it has a step-by-step process on if law enforcement approaches you, what are the things you can say and do in response. But in a nutshell, you want to refer them to the president's office. Next slide. In today's conversation, we have two very special guests. We have the Marissa from Jewish Family Law, who will talk about immigration. And then followed by that, we'll have our very own Cesar Guzman, who will talk about citizenship. But through in a student affairs office, you probably seen these red cards throughout the campus. These red cards basically are know your rights cards. And with that, I want to give Marissa the opportunity to talk about knowing your rights at this point. So Marissa, it's all yours.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marisa. I'm here with the Higher Education Legal Services Program. We're a program of Jewish Family Service. Essentially, we are offering free immigration legal services, partner with Imperial Valley College to offer this service completely free to all students, staff, and faculty members. So if you are interested in getting a consultation to review what immigration benefits are available to you, definitely reach out to us. And I'll share our contact info at the end. Next slide, please. Great. So, like Dr. Johnson mentioned, there's a lot of changes happening right now in our country, and maybe there's a lot of uncertainties about policy, immigration policy more specifically, and what that means for us and people in our community. But regardless of all of these changes, this remains the same, and it's the fact that every person within the United States has certain basic constitutional rights regardless of status. So this could be someone who is a citizen, someone who is undocumented, someone who maybe has DACA, green card holders, asylum seekers. We all have the same ability to exercise the same rights. All right, next slide, please. And so today we're going to go through a few different key things you should know, just general know your rights, and feel free to take notes, share this with your loved ones, and at the end, again, we'll show some resources. So I want to review really quickly just an overview of the different types of law enforcement that you might come across. So on the left-hand side, we have images of examples of federal immigration law enforcement officers. So that could be CBP, which stands for Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, and ICE. And on the right side right here, we have images of officers who are maybe more local officers. So this might be San Diego Police Department, or maybe a local sheriff office, an Imperial, El Centro, etc. The key difference, and because we're in California, we do have certain legislation that protects or that prohibits local law enforcement agents from collaborating and working with federal immigration law enforcement to enforce federal law. So local law enforcement agents like SDPD, like local sheriff officers, are only supposed to be enforcing criminal and traffic laws. So this means if you are driving and you're going over the speed limit, they may stop you. They may ask to see your ID and your registration. In that moment, you can show them your California ID if you have that. But they should not be asking you about your immigration status, and nor should you be answering questions about your status to these officers. On the left side, we have the federal immigration officers. Some of these officers are going to be in different places. So if you've ever crossed between San Diego and Tijuana, or another external border in the US, you might notice these officers. They might be at those ports of entries, is what we call it. Border Patrol are other forms of law enforcement agents, and these officers are usually roaming in the areas that CBP is not, usually 25 to 100 miles of the external borders. ICE stands for Immigration Customs Enforcement. These officers might be in areas farther away from the border, so maybe in our communities and other parts of maybe California and the country. Next slide, please. So regardless of where you are, regardless of who you're speaking to, and more so today, we're speaking in the context of immigration and protecting ourselves from giving up information about our status, we have the right to remain silent. So this is also known as the Fifth Amendment, and this protects, again, like I said, the right to not incriminate ourselves. So if law enforcement stops you and asks questions related to your immigration status, such as, are you a citizen? How did you enter the country? What is your status? What country are you from? These are questions that we do not want to answer right away. Obviously, every situation is nuanced, but if you feel in that moment that you don't have a lawyer present and you want to keep your status and private details private until you can get a lawyer, then definitely invoke your right to remain silent. Next slide, please. So what does this look like in practice? On the right side, we have examples of different phrases you can say. The first tip would be to maybe ask clarifying questions. So if an officer stops you and starts asking you questions, ask, what seems to be the issue? Am I being detained? Am I being arrested? Am I free to leave? If you're not getting a yes, you're free to leave, you're free to go, and they continue to ask questions, then in that moment, you can invoke your right to remain silent. You can state, I'm going to remain silent. I do not wish to speak to you, and I would like to get a lawyer. And another key thing is to never sign anything. Another right that we should be familiar with is the right against unlawful searches and seizures. This is also known as the Fourth Amendment right. And usually when we talk about this, it's when ICE comes to our homes or our private spaces. ICE and CBP and Border Patrol, all the immigration officers need a judicial warrant signed by an immigration judge to be able to enter your home. Next slide, please. So most of the time, ICE and other immigration law enforcement agents don't have a proper judicial warrant to come inside. It may be that they present documents to you, and in that moment, you'll want to ask them to show you the documents before opening the door. So if you have the ability to ask them to slip it under the door, maybe to show it through a window if you have it, or a screen door, anything to review the document beforehand. And you'll want to make sure that it's an official judicial warrant signed by a judge, and not maybe like an arrest warrant or an administrative warrant that is issued by ICE. In these moments, if ICE does not present a warrant, or it seems like they don't have one, do not try and stop the agent if they're insisting in entering your house. Instead, you can state that I do not consent to this search under my Fourth Amendment right. And here we have an example of what a search warrant might look like. Again, there are various iterations of what this document can look like, but there are some key elements you'll want to make sure to point out. The first being, usually you'll see the words United States District Court. It signals that this is actually issued by a court and signed by a judge. An arrest warrant or administrative warrant is usually produced by ICE, and at the top, it'll usually have the words like ICE or U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Another key thing to note, sorry, can we go back one more slide? So in this, another few key things on this document, it does say search warrant on there. And in this top left box right here, it'll usually list in detail the names and properties of who, what, where they have the ability to search. So you'll want to make sure to read that and make sure that it's listed correctly. Next slide, please. All right, and this is an example of what an administrative or arrest warrant might look like. It might be hard to read, but on this document it says warrant for arrest of alien, and at the top left corner, issued by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So this shows you that it's not issued by an immigration judge in court. This may give ICE the ability to arrest someone, but it does not allow them to enter a home. All right, next slide. All right, so just to recap, if you forget everything that we just talked about, you'll want to remember these three phrases. If you're stopped by law enforcement, and again, this applies to local or federal law enforcement agents, first ask those clarifying questions. Am I free to go? What seems to be the issue? Am I being detained? And then if the search continues or if the questioning continues, you then declare, I do not consent to this search if it applies, and I am going to remain silent and I would like to speak to a lawyer. Next slide, please. All right, and like Dr. Johnson mentioned, please get your hands on this red card. It doesn't have to be red. They all have the same content on there. You can download them for free on ilrc.org/red-cards. They're available in 14 different languages. It basically gives you a few sentence starters, helps you remember what you can say in the moment if you're confronted by law enforcement and you don't know what to say. I also just want, next slide, sorry. Yes, sorry. I have a contact info right here. You can visit this link in the middle of the slide, jfssd.org/immigration resources. On this website, you'll find a ton of different guides, websites that go into more detail on Know Your Rights, worksheets and workshops for families to prep in the case of a loved one being detained or arrested, and additional school and community resources that might be of interest to you. Feel free to follow us on our Instagram. It's at Hells_SD. And because we post a lot of updates on immigration policy and events that are coming up, webinars, Know Your Rights sessions you can log into. And if you are interested in an appointment with us, you can scan this QR code. Currently at IVC, we are in person 2 times a month. So we have availability for people to meet with a caseworker in person for a consultation, or otherwise you can make a virtual appointment. And please feel free to call us or email us if you have any questions. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for that information, Marisa. Knowing your rights, of course, is essential more than ever now. And we really appreciate your insight, and also appreciate that our relationship with Jewish Family Services. I think we have been working with you all for the last 5 or 6 years. So thank you so much for all that you all do in helping us and helping our community. Now that you have learned a little bit about some of the legal protections, we would like to welcome our very own Cesar Guzman, who is widely known as the citizenship guru, who will walk us through the citizenship process and what resources are available. Cesar?
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And I want to welcome everybody that's listening or has a chance to review this town hall meeting to do so. This is a plática, it's very important. We say in Español, and una plática so you can learn your rights. And thank you for that excellent presentation, Mrs. Marisa. I love that presentation. To begin with, I've been teaching citizenship class at IVC since 1989 when they opened the office here in Calexico, and they administered the oath of allegiance to the first United States citizen. Since then, I've had the pleasure of assisting more than 16,000, it's almost 16,000 students of mine that have become a citizen of the United States. I also have a staff that works with me, and that is Ms. Leon. And we have also Mr. Alvarado, who works out of El Centro. One of our own board members has worked for us in the past, and that's Peter Martinez. I called him the other day, congratulate him when he joined our board of trustees. And also one of your administrators, Efrain Silva, was part of the group that made people citizens. So with that, I'll begin with to tell you about our program. Now, first thing to do is I generally do is outline this in steps. What is the process involved? And the first step is to determine if you are already a United States citizen. Some people will apply for citizenship, and we found out later that one of their parents was born in this country, or one of its territories, or both their parents were born in this country, and then they could just apply for a certificate of citizenship. So we have a certificate of naturalization for those people that are naturalized, and a certificate of citizenship for those that obtained their citizenship through their parents. And that is what we call two things. One is acquired. When you become a citizen of the United States, your minor children could also acquire the citizenship through you. Okay. And the other one is because your parents were born here, and it's a derivative process. So those are two processes. So we begin there, and then if you are eligible to be a citizen, you have to have lived here for 5 years, your residency for 5 years, or 3 years if you are married to a United States citizen. And what do? We start with the application process. And I do this in class. We go over the application because the interview process is over the application for citizenship. You have to know basically what's in the application. That's why it's important that we sit down together and we review all the questions. So when you go to the naturalization ceremony, you can answer those questions. And that's your first step. After that, you go on and we apply for citizenship, and we walk them through the process in our classes from A to Z. They're very familiar with the form when they finish filling out the application, and it's sent off. Once it's sent off, then you start marking the time when you will get your series of communication from USCIS, which stands for United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. First, they receive the application. Second, they approve your fee waiver. Third, the biometrics if they are required. Nowadays, most people don't have to do their biometrics, and you use their old fingerprints, we call. Now they do the biometrics, but they use it because your fingerprints don't change. They stay the same. So you may not even have a appointment for biometrics, so you go directly to the interview. Once you get to the interview, that's where you have to do several things. Number one, you have to pass the interview. The interview is, again, you go over what you put on your application, and then they'll ask you questions about that. And basically what we like to do in our class, prepare our students when they go there, that they have all the documentation they need to prove that they are residents of this country. Because many people are not residents. We live closer to Mexico, or proximity next door. They just have a place where they have an address, and they cross every day. And immigration knows it. So you go through the interview, and then you take an exam. The exam consists of 3 parts. Number one, the exam is over a civics and history test, and that's where we prepare. We prepare for the civics and history exam in class. And they also need to learn how to read and write. And part of the class is I require that they go before the class, and everyone writes the questions. And then they read them, because they have to have an idea if they can really read. If not, they're not going to pass on the test. When I find someone's struggling with their reading or their English, I refer them to Monica, who also teaches with us. She teaches the ESL Civics, so she can prepare them. And many times this is a start for them to continue on and take other classes. They come to IVC and say, hey, not a bad class. I want to take that. And they take several classes, and eventually someday they are able to enroll one of our vocational programs, or just any kind of program at IVC and so forth. So that's the whole idea. They get them started. And when they go to the interview process and they ask them about their ability of speaking, they say, yes, I've taken some class at Imperial Valley College, 2 semesters, 1 semester, or I've taken class at South Central School District, Adult Education Program, or the Calexico Adult Education, Brawley, and so forth. And you prepare them with all this information. They go over with all that stuff. They talk to them about their marital changes since they immigrated. Has it changed? If it has, you've been divorced since then, you have to present a document of your divorce. If it's in Spanish, you need to translate it. I do the translating for them. I've done that for many, many years. I'm approved by USCIS to translate these documents. It's real easy. Once I have the thing on my computer, just put in the names and the different dates and go from there. So also marriage certificate, you have to submit a marriage certificate. Any children born during this period of time, they have to present those documents too. So it's a series of things to do this, okay? So when you take this test, and this is what people are going to do it in English, because some people could do it in Spanish, but those that do it in English, if you only pass two tests, the English and the civics and history, then they'll leave writing out. You return after 3 months, then you do the writing only. You don't do the first two because you already passed them. So that's a big plus, that you don't have to redo them all. And I don't know what it is about it. I know Mexicanos, it's hard. And in Espanol, we say la desidia. They just procrastination. They never do anything. For instance, those that obtained their immigration status through the amnesty program, which is the SAW, Special Agricultural Worker Program, they had family unity in part of the law that they could immigrate their immediate family under the age of 21 and their spouse within 2 years. Wow, what a great law. And today I still find people that say, well, I want to immigrate my wife. And you were a Rodino, refer to them as Rodinos, you know, a special agricultural worker. And you had that chance, but you didn't do it. Hola, decidia, no pude, and all that stuff. But that happens, you know, and that's only detrimental to the place. But to do it in Spanish, there's that exception that if you have lived in the United States and for 50 years and you have lived here for 20 years and 50 years of age, let me turn that around, 50 years of age and 20 years living here, you do the 100 questions in Spanish. You do not have to learn to read or write. That's a big plus. If you're 55 years of age and lived here for 15 years, you can also do it in Spanish and there's no English or writing test. Super. And if you're 65 years of age, like me, I'm 80, all you do is answer a few questions. Out of the 10, 20 questions he gave you, you have to answer the rest of it. That's easy to do. So that's what you have to do. So those are the three groups that do it in Spanish: 50 years and 20, 55 and 15, and 65 and 20. And then the other exception is those students that have a disability. For instance, a stroke victim, you know, or someone has a diabetes that's very difficult, and so on. They get a letter from their medical doctor, they present it to the immigration, and that will waive them all those requirements. So it's really not hard, you know, people have to do it. And I don't know, I have a passion for citizenship. I know I worked at IVC for 42 years as a counselor, instructor, and also interim administrator. And I retired 11 years ago, and since then, I've been helping people become citizens. We have an office in Brawley, IVC, and I want you to know that only 2 presidents from IVC have visited me in my office. I've been there for many years, and that was Bhakti Pauli. He always was there. Come by and say hello. The other one is Dr. Johnson. He came by and say hello, and I'm glad that he did, because many times they forget about us and we're over here by ourselves. And this is the Community Learning Center in Brawley. And we received it through federal grants in Brawley Elementary School District. They have different offices there and different presentations for the community and county go there. And they usually just have to inquire with time. They have all kinds of classes. They even have a class for dove hunting, show them how to use a rifle and stuff like that. So it's a neat program where you can go there and have access to the total community, and they could come by and use it free of charge. And we've been there since the program was established many years ago. I've used that as an office, and the board approves my presence there as a volunteer. And I've always done that. I've been there since 2011. I've always been there. So that's a big plus. And I want to thank the staff at the Brawley Elementary School District, because they're great, you know, and hosting us there and giving us the facility, computers, the copier and stuff like that to get the job done. If it wasn't because of them, it was probably difficult to help so many people. Basically, they need to know when students come to us that you're under oath when you go to the interview practice, when you review not only the interview, but also the exam. And you have to be careful that you do not hurt yourself, that you do not lie, because if you do, many times come back, you didn't become a citizen. What happened? Don't tell me you messed up. You lied. Guzman. But again, then they have to wait another 5 years before they apply again. But for the most part, it's real easy. Go out there, get the job done, call us. Did I send this? I'm sending information online where we have our schedule there. And let me see if I can get it right here. It's just right here.
Thank you so much, Cesar.
I'm sending you see our schedule, and I'll begin to schedule out through all main campus, just put it up on the bulletin boards and share it with our students, and have the schedule there for our evening and day classes, as well as a copy of a document from USCIS, which lists their website at uscis.gov, and my business card is there along with that. So again, if you need help, if I can do anything for you, please call me. I'll be happy to help you. I entertain phone calls early in the morning, 8 o'clock. I'm at McDonald's making my list, and then I'll be glad to help you. Not just come by and say hello, and I'll set up something for you. And again, thank you, Dr. Johnson, and we'll go from there, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your leadership in this area. And I'm still amazed at all the work you have done in helping over 1,600 people get their citizenship. I mean, that's just really, really remarkable. And you're really helping people out. And the information that you provide is going to be very helpful. And I hope that everyone on this call, if you do have people who have questionable status, feel free to reach out to Cesar. His information will be posted on the site as well. So feel free to reach out. I'm quite sure it'll be an honor for him to help out whoever you.
And we're correction, it's not 1,600, 16,000.
Oh, okay. Oh, 60,000.
16,000. Yeah, that's a lot. And that's thanks to IVC that I have the support from the board and the staff there to be able to continue.
All right. Well, no, thank you. And thank you for that correction. 16,000. That's incredible. And I'm quite sure if we weren't on Zoom, everyone would be giving you a standing ovation, because that's what it's all about. It's about making a difference in our community. And that's what you're doing. So thank you so much, sir. With that, now we want to transition into the Q&A session. Not sure, I don't think we have any questions or anything like that at this point, but please take a moment. If you have any questions, put it and drop it in the chat. We have our team here who are all eager to address your questions, concerns, or if you just want to make a comment, feel free to do so. We'll give you all a moment to do that. Get any comments, Celeste or Mabel?
There's been no questions yet.
Okay. Well, I guess we did a really good job. If we got no questions.
You could also have them email questions if necessary.
And again, this presentation will be posted online. We will be creating a website. Most likely it'll probably be under my page with all the information that we presented today, as well as some of the FAQs that have been created will be posted. Cesar Guzman's information will be there, as well as Jewish Family Services information will be there, posted and available. As we get more information about what's going on in DC and how it can possibly impact our institution, I will be making sure that I send out an email, some type of communication to keep everyone informed. And then we're also planning on having a few other events. We will have our town hall, our state of the college address later this semester. And then after that, we'll have our final town hall for the semester. The difference between the two, the state of the college will be go over high overview of the whole institution, all the various departments, where we are with our strategic priorities, the progress we have made, and so forth. Whereas the town hall is really just about addressing the immediate concerns that is impacting our institution. So feel free to continue to drop some questions, comments. And if we don't hear any questions or comments, we will be including this town hall. Give everyone about another minute or so.
So just to clarify, questions should be coming in through the Q&A portion. It should be on the bottom of the screen. There's a Q&A section that you guys can submit this question.
Not hearing any. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all, and thank you all for another wonderful session. We're looking forward for this spring semester, and stay tuned. Enjoy your day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.